And welcome back, everybody, to DreamHack Masters Atlanta 2022 North American Open Qualifier number 2. I'm, of course, your host, Live VIP, and with me, I'm joined by my lovely plushies this evening. Not just my plushies, but also some of these amazing North American players, because we already have our first game, we already have our first series, and let's just get right into it. We can talk about the format and all that good stuff a little bit later, because spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Moondance, we have the American Zerg player himself, currently teamless. It is CalebAracous. And spawning in the top left hand corner of Moondance, we have the Canadian Terran representing Clan EZ Dunk. It is the Riddler. Oh boy, hi, everyone, exclamation mark be in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket, because the bracket today is brutal. For some context, each region only has 2 qualifiers, only 2 open qualifiers to make it into the closed qualifier, which is essentially where the prize pool portion of the bracket is going to lie. And yeah, everyone has rocked up. We even saw some players who didn't show up to qualifier number 1. It was I was a little bit surprised. Antis is the big one. Antis did show up. I thought maybe he had retired, especially because he did not show up. Oh, especially because he did not show up to the first qualifier, which was a sad thing, because for those who don't know, Antis is the best Zerg player in all of America. Yeah, I'm comfortable saying America at this point. So it was really sad not to see him be a part of the tournament, but he's here in qualifier number 2, and I do not, I'm really concerned for any player who is in his path. Other players like Nina are here. Nina, to say a few, Dolan, of course, our very own, our Duckling. Jon Snow is here, ready for revenge. So many strong players. Oh boy, and the reason why we have jumped onto this series specifically, as you can imagine, as we do see a third base on the way for Caleb, and oh my god, going to be forced to take a gas gadget here by this Reaper, is because the winner of this series is going to move on to face Dolan. Dolan is the only American Duckling who hasn't made it at least into the closed qualifier yet, so I'm really concerned. Well, I mean, you know, I've got to be here. I've got to be here for my boy. I've got to be here to cheer him on and make sure he makes it all the way to that qualifying match. Oof. Meanwhile, we are here in our ZvT, and things so far are opening up pretty standard. Hatch gas pool, of course, Caleb's third base was a little bit delayed by this Reaper, so a little bit of a win here to start things off for the Riddler. And we do see, ooh, he's actually opening up 1-1-1, but opening up with a mine. Not your most standard 1-1-1 opener here. He's not pulling, or he's not going for the add-on switch, so he's not going to be making any of these Hellions. He's going to be having a lot of Marines to work with, and I imagine he's going to be going straight for a medevac to push out across the map. We have seen a little bit of rise in popularity in this opener. It's very off tempo because Marines push out very quickly, and a winter mine is the last thing you expect to see, and it's going to be on Caleb to try and get a scout off. We do see one Overlord here in the pocket base is going to be pushed away. Another Overlord is headed into the main base where there's another Marine ready and waiting. So yeah, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some effort here for Caleb to get in. All these Marines are going to be a bit of a tell, but they could actually tell a different story. He could be assuming that it's going to be something more like a 2-on-1 as he sees the production and he sees the reactor on that Rax. The Marines do respond, but is it going to be a little bit too late here as the Overlord edges closer? Can he see the starport? Up! Ooh, he does spot the starport in the end, so he knows it's not going to be a 2-on-1. He knows about the 1-1-1 opener, and he even saw the tech lab on that factory as well, so he knows that there is going to be a tank push. And he responds by throwing down a Roach Warren. Interesting. So I was going to talk a little bit about the Riddler. We did cast the Riddler in the first qualifier, and he is, you know, infamously a meching player. That's kind of what he does and who he is. And I do worry a little bit about Caleb because of that, because you know what? Even though he's very stylistic, our Terran player, the Riddler here, he is still very good at what he does. The first drop is going to be landing across the map. We do already have a third CC on location. That is one of the great things about Moondance. As a Terran or a Protoss player, you can expand quite quickly here, as the first mine shot is baited out by that Overlord, and Caleb is able to deflect this. Very nicely done. Now, we've been talking a lot about the Riddler, about how we have been casting him these past couple of days, but Caleb is another player we're also familiar with. He's more of an, I don't know if I want to say semi-pro, probably like a retired returning pro. He retired returning semi-pro in a way. He used to be a lot more active years ago. And he has been stepping away from the game recently. Coming back, we actually did cast him in the DreamHack Valencia qualifiers. Ooh, as he pushes off of creep. Oh my god! And he does end up sniping that full medevac. Ay, ay, ay. Caleb just shutting this opener down. Very nice start here for our American Zerg. But yeah, he used to be so much more active years ago. Now not so much, but he was. We were able to cast him during the DreamHack Valencia qualifiers, and it was really cool to see Caleb returning once again. You know, I've got a lot of love for Caleb, especially during the Spicy Tea League. Like he was a personality, to say the least. So it's great to see him here again, but can he go any further here? Again, the Riddler is a titan to behold. We do see a double jump headed towards that natural base. Already the Queens were in position. Tanks are going to siege up. The Lings are taking quite some time to get here, but they will get here nonetheless. They do get on top of the Marines. They will get on top of the tanks. Oh my god. Decent target fire there from those tanks. Do end up roasting 6 of these drones, but was that really worth a medevac, 2 tanks, and 12 Marines? I really don't think so. I do feel like Caleb has been getting the better end of these trades, and the Riddler has been forcing himself a little bit behind in that respect. But does it matter? I was talking about it earlier. The Riddler is very stylistic. He's very infamous for his mech. He is going for a 3rd factory here, going for double armory as well. He is transitioning, and the power of Moondance. I kind of have to question Caleb a little bit, knowing the Riddler's reputation, but allowing Moondance through a map that you can expand and take a 3rd base very easily, very defended, very safe. It's great for mech. So the Riddler is going to be playing out his game here. Now, there's some pros and cons to this. Obviously, Caleb did respond with a very fast Roach Warren. He hasn't revealed the Roach Warren yet. Bear that in mind. He's been only defending with pure Ling and Queen. Finally, the Roaches have been spotted. But I do believe that faster Roach Warren was a response to the Riddler and his reputation. So going to Roaches that early on is going to help out so much. But a random Banshee rocks up. A very unexpected Banshee. Just a single Banshee with Cloak shows up at a really awkward timing and forces so much lost mining time. 0 mining here at the 3rd base of Caleb. We need some detection, we need some Queens, we need some spores, but we have to be careful, because if we move too many Queens too quickly, then maybe these Hellions can find some damage elsewhere. At the same time, this Banshee is still going ham here at said 3rd base. Caleb will eventually deal with this, but it's just dealing so much damage, more than it ever really should have. No. There we go, 3 drone kills and so much lost mine time, and then finally the Banshee has been dealt with. I'm sure we're going to be seeing some spores, especially because Caleb is aware of the commitment into Cloak for that Banshee, so he should be aware that most likely there's going to be another Banshee on the way. Meanwhile, on the flip side of things, something that we haven't seen in a long time, it was, I wouldn't say in meta, but like there was a rise of popularity in Thor Banshee. And that's kind of what we're getting here. We already have 2 Thors for the Riddler. We're getting more Banshee production, but we still have tanks and Hellions. It's not a commitment into the mass Thor Banshee that we used to see last year. I guess he's just anticipating Spire or just getting ready for any kind of Muta switch. So a nice little bit of foresight here. I mean, Caleb isn't going for a Spire, so it's not really going to come too much to fruition. We do see that Caleb has been able to mass expand, take all 5 of his bases. We have our Hive on the way. Caleb, his drone count is honestly looking really healthy. Despite all that lost mining time, like, his drone count is looking beautiful right now. I love it. He's throwing down as many spines as possible to make sure that the Hellion Runby doesn't get out of hand. Link Main is in position. Thors are going to be pushing out, and ooh, they do catch a couple of Queens. 2 Queens, 3 Queens go down. Uh-oh. Ooh, a little bit of a misstep here by Caleb, as he does catch the Hellions at the same time. Another Hellion Runby on the left-hand side. Caleb was not anticipating this, but very quick to react, very quick to pull away all of those drones. Oh, they do morph into Hellbats, so it's going to take a little bit more effort to clean this up. But again, he does in the end. Unfortunately, all of the creeping queens were taken out. We have 5 queens in total, 1 for each base, so it's going to be a little bit difficult here for Caleb to keep this creep spread up. Hopefully, Caleb does recognize that he needs to replace some of his queens, and I worry because there are no spores. I was talking about it earlier. Mate, you saw the cloak, puppy. You saw the cloak. We need detection. We need queens. We need anti-air. Thankfully, Corruptors have just popped out. As the Banshees rock up here at the third base, here we go. Corruptors do rock up. We have some detection, and the Corruptors will eventually clean this up, but not before 6 drones go down. Could have been worse. Could have been worse. 6 drones and a couple of spine crawlers, I believe. At the same time, a little bit of a blue flame helping run by. Also gets cleaned up here by Caleb. Looking at the unit composition here, we've got, what, 13 Ravagers, Ling, Bane, a little bit of Corruptor to maybe even go into Broodlords. It's not bad. Shout out to the Riddler, though. He throws down 2 scans just to confirm what exactly the tech is going to be. He sees the Hive. He does see the Spire. I mean, he saw the Corruptors, to be fair. But he also sees that there is no Greater Spire yet, so he doesn't have to worry about Skyzer. Not yet, anyway. As we see a couple of biles raining down here on the mech army, 1 tank will go down. That Thor count is getting higher, by the way. We have 3 Thors being produced at a time. The Lingbane rolls on forward. Oh my god, one of the Thors will go down. 2 of them go down. The Lingbane gets on top of the tanks, and it looks like Caleb has broken through. It's going to be a costly fight. The Ravagers are all going to get cleaned up by these Banshees, but the tank count is completely reset. Was that a worthwhile trade? I have to wonder. I mean, Caleb does have 90 workers, so because of that, he can replenish his army quite quickly. He did have a bank, so you could argue that it was worthwhile for Caleb, and it's going to take the Riddler that much longer to replace his tanks, which means that this base is going to be vulnerable to another attack. Here we go, Caleb is getting ready to push out once again. Meanwhile, we do have 3 tanks here in between the bases, so we are going to have an army to respond. Is it going to be large enough, though? That's the question. And is Caleb going to hit that base again? Rotating over to the right-hand side is not going to be the answer. We have plenty more tanks where that came from. As Caleb rotates around to the left-hand side to deal with these Hellions. Meanwhile, we've had this Hive for a while. I'm surprised, though. Despite the Hive, we don't have Vipers. Vipers are really the most crucial unit here against mech. Vipers with their abducts, with their blinding clouds, they provide so much value here, especially against a tank-heavy army, even against a Thor-heavy army. Meanwhile, here we go. We do have that attack once again here on the left-hand side. It looks like the workers are going to be able to evacuate. The bathing's fresh in. Oh my god! 17 SCVs go down, and the Roach Ravager can get the hell out of here. A beautiful run by. We were talking about it earlier. Caleb, he softened it up with the first wave, and then with the second wave, he cleaned up the rest of this base. Keeping the Riddler on these 4 bases. He's going to immediately replace this with an orbital, but that means that this is an orbital, not a planetary. At the same time, Roach Ravager pushes in on the right-hand side. Tanks did just rotate over to the left, so Caleb was able to get a couple of free shots off, was able to just chip away at the defenses, as he's able to remax and once again hit on the left-hand side. I would recommend hitting this 5th, just because there still isn't a sensor tower, but the Riddler is aware of that, and he rotates almost his entire army over here. This position will not be broken. Lingbane rolls on forward. A couple of biles do rain down on the Thors, but again, there are just so many tanks. And that is where Vipers come in. For the time being, Caleb is focusing more on 3-3. He's focusing more on Ling production right now. We see a bit of a Ling run by. Oh my god, catches 2 more tanks. Beautifully done here. At the same time, Roach Ravager is going to be able to clean up these rocks for a future attack. I don't really expect him to push up this ramp anytime soon, but maybe after his next wave of Lings. What's important? Sensor tower just went down. Right now, the Riddler is playing a little bit blind when it comes to rotations. He has to anticipate where the army is going to go. Bailings, they roll on in once again. They do connect with the Planetary and the CC. Planetary goes down. CC barely survives here on half HP. Caleb going to be able to remax, rebuild, and go again. The Riddler is just stuck here on his 5 bases. The creep is covering the entire map. Caleb is taking every single base, or he should be taking every single base. There we go. He is taking bottom left. 3-3 still on the horizon, but once it finishes up, Caleb can push in again. It's a pretty interesting kind of way about going about this. No Vipers at all, just brute force Ling Bane Ravager. We go, the Banelings roll in on the right-hand side. Thor's tanks go down to the Banelings, something that you don't see too often. Again, it is a kind of a costly engagement here. But Caleb, because of his back, because of his economy, because he's been left alone, he can just keep doing this over and over and over again. Oof. Even the final Banshee does go down in the end. The Riddler really struggling to exceed 160, 170 supply. Caleb once again remaxing on the Ling Bane Road Trap. What's important is that in this next wave, finally we will have 3-3. Finally we will have these upgrades, especially plus three armor, so it's going to be a little bit easier for the Ling Bane to get on through past the tank line, past the planetary fortresses, and actually get the connections that they need. And here we go, Caleb is rolling in once again, the Ling Bane moving on forward. The tanks are going to be going down to these Lings. No Banelings into the mineral line, but that's where the Lings are going to make up for that. Ravager Biles do rain down on that planetary. The boys are being pulled. The Thors are going to be able to hold the line, and they will clean up all these Ravagers, but look at how many workers are falling. Ay, ay, ay. Oh my god. And with the final Bile, another tank goes down. The Riddler will hold on to his bases, but he has lost 23 SCVs. He's knocked down to 58 workers. And Caleb, he just keep going. Why not? Why the hell not? Are we going to tech up? It looks like we are. Caleb did just throw down an Ultra Cavern. There we go. But it's going to take a while. He's going to need Carapace. He's going to need Ultra Speed as well before the Ultras can really come in handy. Oh, good. But that is going to be on the way. At the same time, the Riddler doesn't want to take this line down. We do have a Blue Flame Hellion drop here on the left-hand side. Unfortunately, there's nothing to really roast up, but he's headed over towards one of the more fresh bases. So he is going to be dealing some counter damage, but doesn't matter because the Banelings roll in, and there's nothing here. There's nothing here. Only a planetary that just gets right-clicked to death. Ay, ay, ay. The Riddler, death by 1,000 cuts. Caleb just keeps on going. Meanwhile, there was an all-army hotkey there by the Riddler. The medevac did head on over towards the northern portion of the map. Finally, he does drop here towards the bottom left. Caleb is going to respond. But not before the entire mineral line goes down, and he can keep on going from here. It looks like the Corruptor is going to be able to clean up this drop in the end. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Up! Medevac will go down, not before both of these Hellions do end up being dropped. So again, the Riddler is actually doing some economic damage, but there's still 98 more drones behind that. Oh my god. The Ling Bane run by does head on in, does take down a lot of these Hellbats. The Riddler does hold on with a very nice tank spread. Oh my god. very aesthetically pleasing, not gonna lie. It's beautiful, it's amazing. He even splits it up even more. But the reality is that he is still down in that supply. His base, his location here is still quite vulnerable, and Caleb is rebuilding once again with Ling Bane, Roach Ravager. Finally, Greater Spire is on the way to transition into Broodlords, and I love it because where's the Thor count? Because of just wave after wave of ground Zerg just smashing across the bases of the Riddler, he's been forced to transition into mainly tanks, into nothing but tanks being produced. So a switch into Broodlords would completely catch the Riddler off guard. Meanwhile, more Hellions and Hellbats go for a bit of a run by. They will be cleaned up in the end. Greater Spire is about to finish up. How many Corruptors we have, by the way? We only have 4, so we're not going to be seeing a Broodlord switch yet, but it will be available to Caleb if he needs it. Likewise, we also still don't have any of the Ultra upgrades either. So again, not the best tech here. The Riddler is fortifying himself on these 4 bases. Because of these Hellion run-bys, the Riddler actually was able to buy himself enough breathing room to max out. And a maxed out mech army is a terrifying prospect. Like, Caleb is going to have a harder time pushing in. Ooh, especially into all these tanks. The Ling Bane doing whatever they can, but again, he doesn't get anywhere near the mineral line this time. Like, the Riddler is successfully defending. And finally, we have Vipers. So we could have gone 2 different ways here. We could have gone into Vipers, or we could have gone into Broodlords. I do think that Vipers are the safer option here. We can go into Viper, take another fight, and then get more Corruptors, and eventually transition into Broodlords. As I say that, we do see that the Riddler is refining his army even more and switching into Thors, recognizing that at this point, you know, we get diminishing returns. We have enough tanks. Ooh, the Riddler even looking to expand and take another base. Like, that's how comfortable he is right now. If the Riddler can ever expand, like, things are going to be looking a little bit scary here for Caleb. Despite the fact that he's had map control, despite the fact that he's been able to keep the Riddler on as few bases as possible, if another gets up, the Riddler can counterattack, and that's going to be a scary moment for the Zerg. Meanwhile, we do have a couple of bios connecting here, taking down 3 more of these tanks. Vipers are now out as well, just sucking on as many buildings as possible. There we go. Just chipping away at that natural. Caleb pushing in once again, and maybe a little bit premature here. He does get 2-3 tanks, but loses a lot of his army. And the Vipers are coming in a little bit too late. Oh no. 73 more Lings on the way. A lot of the Ravagers were cleaned up. This is triggering a counterattack, and again, despite the fact that the Riddler has been on the back foot, this army is still quite terrifying. Thankfully, all 3 Vipers did survive, so if the Riddler isn't too careful, he is going to be subject to those Binding Clouds. Here we go. We have a remax in the Ling, Bane, Roach, Ravager. There are those Binding Clouds that we were talking about. And just like that, the tanks are being swallowed up. The Riddler forced to play into the hands of Caleb. The entire army is going to go down. First the tanks and then the Thors. It did cost Caleb all of his Vipers, but that was well worth it. The Riddler's going to have a hard time replacing that army. Meanwhile, another Ling run by here at the first base. There are so many mules, and those mules are all going to go down. Oof. Cracklings are insane. Speaking of, we got more Cracklings on the way. Unfortunately, there were no Hellbats to help cover the tanks and the Thors here in the middle of the map earlier. The Hellbats are coming out now. The Hellions are coming out now, but it's a little bit too late. It looks like the Riddler has finally been broken. Again, I was a little bit scared about that one big counterattack, but no, I shouldn't have been. I should have believed more in our boy Caleb. And hey, those 4 Corruptors, Brood Lord's Boppy. Shout out to Caleb being very, oh god. What's the word that I'm looking for? Responsible? That's another word. But, showing a lot of self-restraint. There we go. In not using the F2 because these Corruptors have been safe the entire game. The 4 Corruptors have finally evolved into their Brood Lord counterparts. And with that, the fresh mining base is going to go down at the same time. A Ling run by here on the right-hand side is going to take down another mining base of the Riddler. GG gets called, and Caleb will take game number 1. Oh my god. GG. Well played. A very aggressive style there by Caleb. Like, sure, the Riddler got up to 4 bases, but he never got any more than that. And you could argue that he never got to mine from those 4 bases. He was trying to desperately, but Caleb, time and time again, would just ram into him with a mass amount of Ling Bane, with a supporting army of Ravagers rotating between the bases, and yeah, just never allowing the Riddler to breathe. Until there was one moment where the Riddler was able to max out, don't get me wrong, but that is when we saw that transition into Vipers. Oh boy. And with that, Caleb does take a lead in this series. He only needs one more to advance on to the next round. Oof. We'll see how this goes, as it looks like we are going to be loading on in to Inside and Out. I was kind of being a little bit critical of Caleb to allow Moondance in, because I imagine that's going to be very comfortable for the Riddler. But at the same time, because Moondance has such a short rush distance, I guess it does kind of lend towards this this kind of brute force style that Caleb went for. The counterattacking, the reinforcing, it all just happened that much faster. And with that, we are now getting into game number 2, and spawning in the top right-hand corner of Inside and Out, we have the American Zerg player himself, currently teamless. It is CalebAracous. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Inside and Out, we have the Canadian Terran representing Clan Easy Dunk. It is the Riddler. Again, just to wind the clock back a little bit, the Riddler did end up going for a really odd opener. If you remember, he went for a 1-1-1, but he kept the reactor on the racks to keep pumping out more Marines, and then he went for a Marine Widowmine drop into like a tank push. Into a double tank drop as well. So a very aggressive opener, very off-tempo, but it was scouted and Caleb prepared beautifully for it. If you remember, the very first medevac got taken down by Queens, and it was a full medevac as well. So the Riddler was playing a little bit from behind from the beginning because his opener just wasn't worth it. He ended up throwing away 2 tanks and 2 medevacs at the start of the game. And from that moment on, Caleb was just in full control. There was a moment where the Riddler was able to counterattack and do a lot of damage with Banshees, don't get me wrong, so he was able to even things up again, but like stumbling out of the gate is always a really kind of rough position to play from. So hopefully the Riddler takes this a little bit more, I was going to say a little bit more seriously, in the sense that I hope he respects his opponent a little bit more, anticipating that whatever opener he goes for is most likely going to be scouted and not go for something so crazy and so out of the norm. We'll see though, we'll see. It may just be his go-to. So far we do see another standard opener, just a racked expand coming out here from the Riddler, going for his Reaper across the map. And going to be scouting his opponent. We do have an SCV here at the linear third. We do see the Reaper headed towards the triangular third. So again, just being as annoying as possible, keeping Caleb on these 2 bases, making it as annoying as possible to expand and take a third. Oh. And up. No! Oh, the misclick. Caleb, he morphed, he selected the wrong drone to be morphed into the gas geyser. So Caleb will lose 1 worker here in his main. Oh my god. And a tumor. The Riddler getting a lot done here with his first Reaper, getting that tumor, getting that drone. Is it the biggest of deals? Not really, but it can get into your opponent's head. The creep tumor is probably the biggest thing, where Caleb, his creep spread and connecting these bases is going to take that much longer. Losing the drone is just a little bit annoying and is just frustrating as a player. But hey, whatever you can get done in the beginning of the game, like, it is well worth it here for the Riddler. And just making sure that there was no inject here at the natural until now with that second queen. Which was going to happen anyway, but it's fine. Meanwhile, once again we get a 1-1-1 opener, but this is a little bit more standard. We do see the racks switch with the add-ons with said factory. We do have the reactor. And we first have 2 Hellions, and then we are switching into a Widowmine drop. The Hellions, again, are designed to make everything look normal, and I love this opener just because, specifically on Inside and Out, it is harder for the Zerg player to scout. Looking at the vision here of Caleb, he is coming in from behind, and oh my god, the Overlord spots both Widowmines! How does he do it? The Overlord does confirm the Widowmine production. He is fully aware of the Widowmine drop coming his way. He hasn't scouted the armory, as the armory is hidden on the left-hand side. But Caleb already has a large piece of the puzzle, and there we go. Spores are being thrown down. So he doesn't know how committed the drop is going to be. He doesn't know that there is an armory, but despite that, it is always a good idea to get spores against Widowmine drops. Because it's an armory, it's multi-use. We have Hellions that can be morphed into Hellbats. Unfortunately, because of the Widowmine production, there aren't that many Hellions and there aren't that many Hellbats, so the likelihood of this dealing damage isn't that high unless the Queens get pulled out of position. Meanwhile, the drop is coming into the natural base already, isn't able to go up. Oh my god, the first Widowmine will go down. Oh, and very nice reactions here by Caleb, but did I speak too soon? Up! Ooh. Widowmine goes off on a Queen, so minimal losses here, but at the same time, the Queens were distracted. Here we go, the Hellions do get into the third base. The Widowmines may not have dealt too much damage at all, but the Hellions make up for it. 8 drones go down for every single one of these Hellions. Now, there's a bit of a give and take here as the final Hellion morphs into a Hellbat. But there is a little bit of a give and take, in the sense that the Riddler does get 8 drones, which is a great thing, don't get me wrong, but he is going to give up map control for it. He is going to throw away every single one of his Hellions, and we do have more behind this. Okay, sorry, I forgot that. Oh, never mind. I was going to say, sorry, I forgot that he's playing mech, but he kind of is and he kind of isn't. What am I watching? On 2 bases, we have a second factory, but we also have stim. So we're kind of seeing kind of like a biomech hybrid. I say kind of because 2 factory production on 3 bases is pretty normal, and we are working towards a 3rd base, but this does feel like a pretty fast second factory. And we're not stopping. I see a reason why. Oh my god. Drilling claws, and we are going into mass mine production. The Riddler, the first mine drop didn't pay for itself, but he's hoping that maybe the second will. We have mines moving out across the map. We have 4 more Hellions. Again, very unexpected to see continued Hellion production, by the way. Usually, okay, so usually because we only have 1 factory, that factory will stop producing Hellions and start producing either tanks or Widow Mines to reinforce the Bio Army. But the Banshee, the mass harassment, Banshee into the main, Hellions into the 3rd, a Widow Mine drop into the natural, a tri-pronged attack. Can Caleb keep up? So far, it looks like he can. He does recognize the drop here into his natural base. He does pull away just in time. We do have another Widowmine waddling into the main, and Caleb does not notice. Ooh. 7 drones go down. At the same time, this 3rd base is looking vulnerable. The Hellions rock in again. The Riddler is finding damage. He is all over the place. The drones being forced off the line as well. 16 workers go down. 17 in the end. Essentially an entire mineral line. Caleb is crumbling to the pressure, but his drone count is still looking quite healthy. It goes to show how greedy he was being. In the end, a great move here by the Riddler. He is able to establish his 3rd base, and I do think that the Riddler is in a better economic position. The worker counts are relatively even, but the Riddler has mules on top of that. So a great economic lead here by the Riddler. Behind this, he is in fact going into bio. 1-1 is on the way. We have 3 Raxes. We have 2 more on the way for 5 Raxes in total into mass Widowmine production. Unfortunately, a little bit of a supply block, so that is going to slow him down a little bit, but Caleb isn't going to be aggressive anytime soon. After all said and done, Caleb has a little bit of moments of reprieve. He can try and saturate his bases. He is taking another 4th base, but he's going to be a little bit on the back foot. This will give Riddler the breathing room he needs to establish his 3rd, get a 4th up and running. But it's not like Caleb is taking this line down. He is taking up. He is getting an infestation bit. So with this army, he can go Ling Bane. He could even go straight into Ultra, which wouldn't be a bad thing, especially with this just mass marine mine. We'll see. We'll see what direction Caleb decides to tech up. He hasn't been able to confirm whether this is bio or not, by the way. He wasn't able to get back into the main base. He hasn't seen the mass marine. And I worry because he is working on range upgrades. But here we go. The army does finally reveal itself here on the edge of that creep. At the same time, another mine jump. Oh, God! Ugh, 14 drones go down. The mine drops, puppy. They just don't stop. Ugh. They just don't stop. At the same time, we have a marine force coming in on the left-hand side. Caleb has to split up his army. There we go. The mines have finally been cleaned up. The Riddler pushing deep onto creep. It all depends on how good these mine shots are going to be. Ooh. They do connect with the links and with one of those Ravagers. In the end, Caleb is going to force the hot pickup. And Caleb, he's crazy. He's going into a Spire. This is a bold move. This is maybe Caleb hoping that we have stopped mine production. Mutas typically have a hard time against biomine. This is exactly what the Riddler wants. I think, to be fair, this also goes to show the age of Caleb a little bit. I'm not calling him old, but he's a veteran player. And Lingbane Muta, I imagine, is just kind of his go-to. It's his bread and butter. It's what he played back in Heart of the Swarm, back in early Legacy of the Void. It was meta for so long, and I trust in his ability to control this. You know, Hydra Lurker is more, that's more of like the newer generation style of ZvT. So if anything to do, try to roll on in. Don't get the best connections. We have another bio army here on the right-hand side. It looks like this hatchery is going to go down. Oh, Caleb just really struggling to keep up here with the Riddler. The hatchery will get targeted down. At the same time, the double drop here in the natural base doesn't get cleaned up. Oh my god, it's going to actually converge with the double drop here at the 5th. all headed into the main base. Meanwhile, off of this hive, we are seeing an Ultra Cavern. I do like it. I was talking about it earlier. Ling Bane into Ultra can do really well against Biomine. But I do think that going into the Spire wasn't the best of choices. It was a little bit of wasted resources in the end. And these are resources that Caleb cannot afford to waste. We've reached the point where the Riddler is now max. Honestly, I'm impressed. I was talking about it at the very start, how the Riddler was known for his mech, and in day 1 of the qualifiers, he did nothing but mech. Even here in game 2, in game 1, day 2. But now going into Biomine, he's found so much success. We'll see if we can keep it up as we have another mine here in towards the natural and towards the third. 11 drones go down. The mine drops just completely pulling Caleb apart. To be fair, everything will change once the ultras come out, but that was a kill, not a cancel on the 5th base. Oh my god, mine shots are going to be going off on the Lings. Not without some friendly fire though. The Riddler did sustain some losses, but I think Caleb is running out of steam. He doesn't have a bank. He just keeps losing workers, keeps replacing them, but he just doesn't have a bank because of it. Oh. As the Riddler, he just keeps rallying everything across the map, and Caleb, maybe there's a world where he has the most juicy of Baneling connections, but I don't know if that's the world we're going to be living in. God, the minefield is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. The mines, they move on forward. Oh god! And mines are going to go off, and they get some decent connections on the buy. To be fair, not a bad fight here for Caleb, but there's a drop in his main, and I don't think he notices. Oh no. The sporting pool is going to go down. The queen as well. Workers on top of that. Oh my god, he goes straight for the Ultra Cavern. Cannon's plating will finish up just in time, and we will have 1 Ultra, but only 1 Ultra. This drop was well worth it here for the Riddler. Caleb forced to expand on the left-hand side. Instead, he needs a 5th base. So desperately. He just hasn't been able to be aggressive at all. Finally, he's going to be moving out across the map, but mate, we got a wall. We got some mines. Oh, the mine shots are insane. The army's gonna break on through. We have more mines where that came from, by the way. Caleb will break through and get into this space, but at the same time, we do have another force here pushing on the right-hand side. And the reinforcements are just gonna be too much. They're gonna hold. Meanwhile, the Riddler doing the Riddler things, switching into mech as 4 factories get thrown down. I say that he may just be going into mass mine. It's very possible. Just bio, marauder, mass mine. Why not? Okay, no, actually he's getting tech labs, so he's going into tanks and going into Thors. Okay. I see. Fair enough. I mean, it makes sense. He did see the transition into Ultras, and he's going to be assuming that Caleb is going to rebuild that Ultra Cavern. He's going to need a better answer against these Ultras, so here we go. Ghosts are going to be on the horizon. Marauders already coming out. Potentially more mass tank. There we go. Tanks are on the way. And Caleb is given a moment here. Ooh. He can rebuild his economy. He has rebuilt his economy. 79 drones isn't ideal, but it's better than what we've ever had before, to be honest. He's taking every single one of his bases. The Riddler, because of this tech transition, because of his production transition, he has backed off. And Caleb is going to be able to get into his Ultras, get into his Vipers, move into Broodlords. He's going to max out. He doesn't have a bank, don't get me wrong, so he has to be as efficient as possible with his fights, but Caleb is not out. He's still in this. Oh boy. Here we go. We even have a Hydroden on the way. Every form of tech here in the main base. With this Greater Spire, these Corruptors can be morphed into Broodlords, which I think is what he wants to go for. He needs to slow down this game. Doesn't have any Infestors, unfortunately, but Broodlords are the first step. He does have those Vipers if he ever needs to yoink. Abduct. Meanwhile, Caleb just dancing with the army, going to be going for a bit of a run on the left-hand side. Is going to take a lot of tank shots to the face, though, as a result, but he's not taking the worst fights. Ooh, as he loses an Ultra. Oh, and he loses a Viper as well to that snipe. Again, Caleb testing the waters. I also have to commend his creep spread. Despite, like, so much aggression on the map, he's been able to, like, extend this creep as far as the halfway point. Even more. Here we go. Infestors on the way. Broodlords should be on the way soon as well. Unfortunately, we don't have very many air upgrades. We actually have 0 air upgrades, so the Broodlords won't be at their best, unfortunately. But regardless, Broodlords will be good nonetheless, and there we go. 5 of them are on the way. I also have to be a little bit critical here of the Riddler. 3-3 is pretty late, all things considered, despite his earlier engineering base. Despite, I mean, I guess his engineering base were a little bit delayed because of the mass mine production, but that will affect how useful his bio is right now, and it is going to give Caleb even more time. Ooh, as the scan is going to spot those Broodlords. There we go. Turrets are going to be on the way on the fringe bases here. Tanks are going to get a couple of free volleys off. Infestors have to be careful. They will get a fungal. Oh, the Broodlords are going to try and capitalize on this. The snipes are real, though. We do have a fungal a little bit late. Do we have enough to really get on top of all these ghosts? It looks like we barely do. Oh my god. The Riddler overextending with his ghost is going to lose every single one. Oh my god. Caleb taking a great fight. I was worried that the snipes were going to be too much, but the snipes only killed one Broodlord. The transfuses were real. And now the Broodlords can push on through. Caleb has turned the tables. He is fighting back. He takes down the frontline siege tanks. We have 5 Thors being produced at a time. What's important, though, is that this production is a little bit exposed. It is on the front lines. If Caleb can get on top of this, he can break his opponent. But the Thors are also going to be reinforcing on the front lines as well. They are now out. At the same time, speaking about the factories being exposed, this Ghost Academy also exposed. Oh, and the Ling Bane's trying to get on top of the Thors, the Viper in the backline. We could see a couple of blinding clouds, or even an Adduct. While the Baileys get into the middle line, the Planetary's going to go down. The Ghost Academy goes down as well. Oh, the flanking Thors! Oh my god, do we have Neural? We do not. Uh-oh. With no Neural, these Infestors have to get the hell out of here. It looks like the army of Caleb is going to go down. But he gets a Ghost Academy. He gets a base. He does trade. And Caleb was able to keep his Infestors alive. Alive to live another day. There we go. He has recognized the threat of those Thors. We do have Neural on the way. Another base being taken. We did lose all of our Broodlords, to be fair, but Caleb is transitioning into mass ground. Ling Bane Ultra. And honestly, this is what you want to be doing here as a Zerg player. The Riddler is refining his army to deal with Broodlords, so Broodlords are the last thing you want to make. A bit of a Ling run by here. Gonna be cleaned up, not gonna find too much damage. Again, with our Mass Infestor, we don't just have Ling Bane Ultra, we have Ling Bane Ultra. Ooh. Thor. I was waiting for a Neural, but we actually don't have Neural yet. my mistake. So, we're going to be waiting a little bit here. Caleb has to be careful not to overextend before he does get that upgrade. God, there are so many ghosts. If he wanted to be fancy, you know, he could even go for a Neural on a ghost and EMP the ghosts themselves. I don't expect him to do that, but the option is there. So we do have a little bit of a Thor drop here on the left-hand side. The army is going to respond. At the same time, he doesn't want his entire army to respond. He doesn't want to leave himself vulnerable on the right-hand side. Going to be pushing on forward, and we'll get a free tank. Oh, there's a little bit of a leftover minefield here, though. Up. The Infestors! No! Oh my god. Fungals just in time, but the ghosts are hot on their heels. The ghosts, they want the snipes and they will get them. 2 infestors, 3 infestors go down. They need to be rebuilt. But you know what? A base fell and 22 SCVs. Wow, despite how insane the Riddler was early on, you could argue that the Riddler maybe shouldn't have transitioned. Because he just let up the aggression and he allowed Caleb to get back into this game. And as a result, Caleb is now ahead in supply. He's ahead in the economy. The Riddler, I just realized, hasn't been making workers. He is stuck on 39 SCVs and he has not replenished them. Like, he is not saturated at all at this 4th or 5th base, and he's not making more workers. He's relying on purely mules, and he just cannot get a bank. He cannot replace his army. Oh no. The Riddler, he's crumbling a little bit here under the pressure. He's focusing so much on his army, on his ghost control, on his Thor control, on his drops, that he is neglecting something so crucial right now. He's neglecting his economy. Meanwhile, a couple of good Woodmine shots do go up on these links. Thors are going to be thrown away here. Not the fight that Caleb wants to take. He's going to dive on in. He will get a decent surround on some of these ghosts. More importantly, though, he is taking down the supporting units. He takes down the tanks. And we do get a couple of fungals on the ghosts. Again, not enough to really clean up this army. But a trade well worth it here, just because Caleb can rebuild. Meanwhile, the Link get into the main base. They're getting on top of a lot of this production. The add-ons are going down. Did we ever rebuild the Ghost Academy? Am I crazy? Oh, we did. Thank God. Here? Mate, why is the Ghost Academy here? Ay. Oh, God. Corruptors are coming on in. There are no missile strikes at the same time. The Ling army is getting ready to catch the ghosts as they transfer over. Oh god! That's exactly what they do. The Lings, they get a full surround. They come in from the backline as well. We do have detection. The Bailings roll on in, and the ghosts are all going to get caught out. And that's going to be all she wrote. GG gets called. Caleb with the comeback takes game number 2 and the series. Wow. GG, well played. Oh my god. I'm K2O. GG, well played. Congratulations to Caleb. Honestly, what an insane game. What an insane series. Oh my god. Game 1, to be fair, was pretty one-sided. You know, Caleb, he just had his way with the Riddler. But game 2, the Riddler was on fire. There was a moment where he was up 50 supply. And then the Riddler stopped attacking. I was shocked when that happened. He just stopped putting on that pressure. He backed off. He allowed Caleb to get back into this game, and get back in he did. He was able to hold the line, rebuild his army, rebuild his economy, and take it to the Riddler. GG, well played. Oh my god.